Okay, I think it's about time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi barakatuhu, all of you, for joining today's session. I think it's an incredibly um, arranged or planned program, and hopefully it meets the requirement that we had planned for. And I really appreciate all the people who have joined already, and the number of people who have uh, joined and showed enthusiasm just makes me very, very happy to see that close to 200. Numbers do matter. So I really thank all of you, and we have a great session. I think my goal of this session is essentially to make two things. One, you'll get some information with regards to whatever it needs to be done, training or living life in America. Two is make connections. From today's session, you'll be friends with a lot of people that you can make connections with. And that's how the networking will grow. And I'll tell you, the founder of this whole philosophy is Dr. Maksud Punekar, who will be giving talk. And that's how this all started, from one or two people way back 15, 20 years ago, 2 decades ago. So, inshallah, with that, I want to share my little presentation where I'm introducing speakers and I'm giving a few minutes to start this. So, today's webinar, so hopefully this works. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm sharing this. Are you guys see my screen here? Good.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's full screen.
The first most important thing is this arrangement of the webinar was under the umbrella of Mufid Education Network and MHN, or Mufid Health Network USMLE, which is the parent organization, and I've been part of it and been involved in it for a long period of time. And Dr. Maksud Punekar, who is chairing this, is the forefather of this, pretty much. Okay, I would like to start my today's talk by giving you a quote by Ibn Sina. Okay, he was one of the most prominent philosophers and a physician in the Islamic era. Okay, and he did quite a bit of discoveries during the time with regards to his contribution to medicine has been amazing. And one quote of his, which I thought was very relevant to today's talk, was this: He who has no knowledge of the world cannot be a physician, for the art of medicine is not to be learned from the books alone, but from the discourse and experiences of those who practice it. See, this emphasizes the importance of practical experiences, exposure to diverse medical traditions, and learning from other physicians, which often requires traveling to gain deeper medical insights. So, in his time, there were people who traveled all the way from Europe and different continents to learn more. And I think this whole talk today essentially kind of glorifies that concept, and I think we are very grateful to his contributions to field of medicine. Having said that, today is going to be a fully loaded topic which covers everything from an exams to living life. And I'm really excited for all these topics and presenters. And I think what I've gained from doing this is made a good friends with a lot of people that I did not even know. And I'm really glad about that. And I know that now they are, and all these people, I'll tell you this, they're all over India. And people who are in America, I didn't even know this, that they are all spread across all four corners of America: Texas, Florida, Wisconsin, New York, name it. They are all over the place. So, which is great diversity. Well, just a few, a little bit. I will finish my. I'm not going to give a talk for more than a couple more minutes, but just to give you a little bit of hope about how the doctors in America are pursued, Indian doctors especially. Right now, there are almost 1 million doctors practicing in America, and 26.5% force are all immigrants, not just Indians, immigrants. And if you look at the statistics, which I looked at, the what is the percentage of IMGs, that is international medical graduates, not just Indians, international medical graduates who are applying, how successful they are. 60% success, which I think is a pretty significant positive number. That means out of 10, 6 people are likely going to match with their planned career options. Having said that, this is just to show you today's audience mix up. And this number has changed already. This was last night. But as of now, a few minutes ago, we have had almost 100, almost 200 people, and majority of them are MBBS students who are attending today's talks. It's a good feedback to have. Having said that, these are the topics which we are going to cover extensively. I'm really excited for all the presenters. And with that, I'm going to introduce Dr. Maksud Punekar. He's my, I would say, in a way, mentor, elder brother, or he is somebody who's the driving force behind doing all sorts of these activities to help each other, to do things for people. So I'd like him to speak few minutes about this program and what we can learn from this program. So I will ask Dr. Maksud Punekar to take over and give us few minutes of his wisdom to us. Dr. Maksud Punekar, you can talk. Let me see if I can, if there's a mute issue. Sorry about that. Are you able to talk or you have been muted? Let me see. Apologies for the, okay, let's see.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair, Aman Bhai, for the kind introduction and for organizing this fantastic program. Not just this program, Alhamdulillah, you have been a brilliant star right from the beginning. I know Dr. Aman since he was little, Alhamdulillah, role model for many youngsters, mashallah, continues to stay that North Star. Guiding now people who are heading towards US. Not just him, all of you who have organized it, a fantastic job. Really, really well done. Beautiful program, mashallah. It is a dream come true for me. Alhamdulillah. And all those who are attending this program, Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh, and most welcome on board. The aim is for us to bring all of you together on a platform, help you network, collaborate, inshallah. Aim is to help each person get stronger and better as much as we can. I keep saying this, that we don't charge money, but we are not free as well. We do expect you to give back to the community on your own and together with us. That's what's happening. This program being organized by very busy clinicians, mashallah. They've got a lot on their plate, but despite that, they're giving all this time. Why? Just for you. So if that is being done for you, you are also expected to do that. This is what is required at a desperate time of need for the community. Without taking a lot more time, just want to let you know that we have got lots of other activities. As you know, we mainly work in the areas of social sphere with the name of Mufid, whether it is Hajj, Umrah, or Rishta, or gardening, recipes, so many different things, mashallah, that we provide visa support. In health, we have got Mufid Health Network, where we provide the international career guidance, specific guidance for US, for UK, and Australia, etc. There are also multiple MDTs, multidisciplinary teams across the super specialties. I'm really pleased to let you know that probably we have got doctors who are even better than what you have got in AIMS or Narang Hudaya from across the globe. And we do provide an opportunity to discuss the cases or close ones in an anonymous and a confidential way, and that has been tremendously helpful over the decades, alhamdulillah. And the third sphere that we work in is education, trying to promote the education and educational projects of the community. We've got various different fora for that as well. You're most welcome to join us and help us out with that. Over to you, Aman Bhai, and let the program
Very good.
start.
Excellent. We are having a little bit of a big technical issue, which is allowing only 100 participants. I do have a pro account, so it should allow me unlimited number of accounts. And I wanted to make sure that that happens because people want to join, and I'm trying to see how I can do that. What I'm going to do is Uzair, can you? Oh man, this is unfortunately.
Maybe you can relate on YouTube, Aman Bhai. It may be a bit, sometimes a little bit too late.
Is that right? Okay. In that case, I'll try to see if I can increase the participants as we talk. I know I had a pro account which increased, so I do have license, but whatever it is. But I really appreciate Dr. Punekar. So let's kickstart the program. It's already 15 minutes into it. Why don't we have the first presenter, which is I'm really excited, which I think is probably the most important part of the talk. First talk is talking everything about the process of USLE exam. Okay, and I have Dr. That's me actually. So let me just, okay. I have Dr. Rusab Beg. She's a completed MBBS to, finished MBBS, and now she's already given her USMLE exams with flying colors. She's in process of coming to US for writing her USMLE Step 3 exam. She was kind enough to just finish her work and give a presentation. So I will have her take over the control and have her um, give her talk. So let me see if I can unmute her if she's able to not. And please, I once again apologize for all the technical problems. Please bear with me. I thought I'll have multiple people helping me, but we are not prepared for that. Dr. Rusab Beg, I'm going to unmute you now.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Let me just share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Dr. Rusab Beg, and I applied for the match this year. I'll be talking about the USMLE exams, which are usually the first step towards your USMLE journey. So basically, I will be talking about USMLE Step 1, 2, the finances involved in it, and the resources you can use for it. So first of all, the first step, the USMLE Step 1. So this exam is an 8-hour exam. So it's basically made up of 7 hours of exam and 1 hour of break. The break can be taken as per your choice. After every block, one block is made up of 60 minutes, and per block you have 40 questions. So that's why 7 into 40 makes 280 questions. You can have up to 280 MCQ questions. These are the topics which are tested in the Step 1. Mainly it's made up of pathology and physiology and the other first and second year subjects. But we also have ethics, biostatistics, some parts of ENT and ophthalmology, which may be there in the third year of medical school in India, but it's tested in Step 1. The materials which you can use includes mainly, number one, first aid for USMLE Step 1. That's the most important resource. You have to make sure you study it really well. Then there's the QBank QWorld. Then there are other resources like Pathoma, Sketchy, Amboss, Anki, and other basic science textbooks. Then to test yourself, you can use NBMEs and UWSAs. And at the end, you have to take a free 120 to know where you are. Then for Step 2 is almost very much similar to Step 1 with a format, but you just have to be prepared for longer questions. And it's a 9-hour exam instead of the 8-hour in Step 1. So that's how it has 8 question blocks now, and each block is of the same 40 questions. So it can have a maximum of 320 questions. So it's mainly final year of MBBS in India. That's medicine, surgery, pediatrics, OBG, and psychiatry. And you can be tested in any of these subjects. Mainly, it's medicine. And you'll also be tested on ethics, patient care, and there'll also be biostatistics once again, and epidemiology. For Step 2, the main resource is UWorld. You have to make sure you do it really, really well. You can use your first aid for Step 1 to revise your basics. Amboss Library and QBank will be very much helpful over here because you don't have a particular first aid for step 2 as you have for step 1. For videos, you can use Boards and Beyond, you can use Sketchy, and maybe somebody else can also suggest something else in the chat box. Then you have to do CMS forms, which is given by the NBMEs. Then you have to do the NBMEs, which are the mock exams. And then comes the UWSAs. UWSA 2 is very much more predictable in both step 1 and step 2. And then there's free 120. Free 120 is very much important in both exams as well. Finances and pricing. This year, the prices have been updated and the prices have increased actually. So step 1 is now $1,020 plus 205 if you're taking it internationally. That means if you take the exam in India, you have to pay an extra $205. Then step 2 is the same thing plus $230. And for E7G certification and verification form 186, that's the beginning of the process. You have to pay 160. Step 3 is 895. OET, which is an English exam for E7G certification, that's $400 to $500. And so the approximate finances for the resources, that is the UWorld, NBMEs, first aid, all of this for step 1, 2, and OET approximately will be around $2,000. So for the exams and the study material, it'll cost around $6,000. And if you want to extend the exam, extend the eligibility period, or you have to change the testing region or something like that, then you have to pay more. So once you're prepared for your exam, how do you know if you're ready to take the exam? For step 1, you have to make sure that you're very well versed with all the concepts in first aid and able to understand and recognize the patterns in UWorld and memorize the clinical scenarios. At the end of first aid, there's a particular section just with the clinical scenarios. You can revise that. And then you have to make sure you're done with at least one pass of UWorld and you're getting around 70 to 80% score in NBMEs. And also getting a good score in UWSAs. For step 2, you have to make sure you've completed at least 2 passes of UWorld and finish your CMS forms. You've understood and remembered all the algorithms, and you also have a good score in NBMEs and UWSA. And if you have an expected score in free 120, then you're ready for the exam. Yeah, this is the end. Sometimes you may feel less confident or tired. Take a break and relax, and you can continue the next day. And whenever you feel overwhelmed or depressed, take some help from your seniors on how to cope up with your stress. And also, one day you'll be done with everything and you'll be very proud of it. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much. First of all, I would really appreciate you sticking to this time and giving all this information. That's amazing. And most of the time there is a issue is about catching up with the time. So you won gold star for doing that. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, guys, an update where we had issue with people were trying to log in and there was capacity limit of 100 only. We just increased that and I can see more than 120 people logged in. For those who missed this presentation, there is a recording ongoing. So, inshallah, after the whole presentation is over, we'll try to share that in a timely fashion. Okay. With that, I would like to share my next. Thank you so much, Rosab. And maybe if there any questions come up in the chat, please try to answer those. And with that, we'll have our next presenter, who's going to be. I'm going to talk to her. This is the next important talk. That is Dr. Hiba Salam. She's also a fresh graduate, just finished her MBBS. She's from Vaidehi Medical College. She has a vast experience, with regards to USMLE and after that, like observership. I think this is one of the most critical aspect, and a lot of people have questions. She has done an amazing job about doing observership at various places in one of the top-notch institutions in America. And I'm really excited that she's going to share her experience with regards to what it is to do like observership and a little bit about residency. So with that, I will ask Hiba. Let me see if I have, I can, are you able to talk or let me unmute yourself? Um, The fact that she's not speaking, it probably means she is not Hiba Salam. So let's see. I'm going to unmute you. Can you hear us and talk?
Yeah, I can hear.
Good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to know if I should start talking about step 3 as well, because I was asked
Yes,
to talk about that as
please.
well.
Please
Okay.
do.
Sure. Can everybody see my screen? So, is it visible? I just want to know if it's okay. So hi everyone, I'm Hiba Salam. I'm going to be talking about step 3 just as a continuation. So for step 3, just like what Prasad was talking about, we have like, it's a numerical score format. It's quite less important than step 2, but I would say like it really strengthens your application, because when you apply, you want to kind of like do your best, right? So I think it's very nice if you can give your step 3, and if you can aim it to be given like before the match application deadline, which is like, I would say probably to the max by like August of the year you're applying. But if in case you feel like, you cannot do it, because I see a lot of people giving their step 2 by then, something that you can do is like, aim it to be given like before December of that year, so that the programs know that you're done with your step 3 when they're ranking, or, if you're, and you also become eligible for like the H-1B visa sponsorship. And just an outline on what is the exam. It's like a 2-day exam, probably the longest exam of your life, I think. It's like longer than the hours that we sleep. So it's like we have like day 1 and day 2. So day 1 is like 7 hours, and the day 2 is like 9 hours. So the day 1, I would say it's like it kind of mimics a lot of step 1 content, I think. So you have like a lot of resources, which I will be talking about later. And then for day 2, it's like a mix of UWorld questions, like which mimics step 2, and there's also something called CCS. Now, coming to what are the resources which we need to use, like UWorld is like the ultimate gold standard for, as in for any step exam. So that is one thing you can use. There's like one NBME, which is quite okay, I would say. I don't think it really helped me as a person. And because, step 3 is very heavy on biostatistics, and by very heavy, I mean it really well. So AMBOSS is a tool which you can kind of use to kind of supplement your biostats knowledge, because I see a lot of students kind of struggling with biostats. And biostats mainly on the day 1. And for day 2, as I mentioned, we have something called CCS cases, which are like simulated case scenarios, which kind of you need to work on. So for that, we have the CCS case online, which you have to kind of prepare for, and there are like 170 cases, and I think that should do the job. And for day 1, something extra that you can do is just going through your Pharmac and MicroPort of your step 1 first aid, because as I said, some of the questions mimic for step 1 on day 1. And the duration that you take generally is like 4 to 5 months, I would say. It varies person to person. If you're like giving it as closer to your step 2, then it's like much easier. And something that I would like to add on is, don't take the exam lightly. Just try your best, because it's always good to get a good score, and try to take it before the math cycle or the math application deadline. And with that, I would love to move to the next one, which is about observerships. So rotations is a topic which I think which really relate with me, because I had like a very tough time getting my rotations. Because we're like short on time, I'm gonna like dive in straight into it. Like there are 3 types of it. We have electives, observerships, and externships. Those are the 3 types of rotations that we have. So for electives, so what is a rotation? Rotations are nothing but clinical experiences which you do in hospitals in the US, very much similar to what you do it in India. Okay, so electives are the most widely known one, which is like it's hands-on, which means you get to do history and physical examination, and you can also use the electronic medical record system. It is done when you are a student, and by student I mean before graduation. Even when you are like an intern medical officer, it is applicable, okay? Then you're considered like a student. And people generally say it's more valuable than other types of rotations because, when you get to do things, you can actually show better and you can also get like a good LOR, I would say. And coming to like observerships, which is like the second category, which is like hands off, like you cannot like you do not have any touch with the patient, like no history, no physical examination, no EMR access, and it's mainly meant for graduates who have graduated from med schools. And the last one is externship. It is like a very rare hands-on opportunity for graduates. And the only place that I kind of know of is Heart and Vascular Institute in Detroit, Michigan. So do apply there as early as you can if in case, you're looking for externship opportunities. To talk a little bit more about electives, how do you get them? So first and foremost, the three ways in which you can get is one is through applications, another one is through contacts, another one is through agencies. So for applications, there are two types, that is VSLO or non-VSLO. VSLO means visiting students learning opportunities, which is something a lot of med schools are not a part of. In India, especially, I think only like 10 med schools in India are part of it. So if in case your med school is enrolled in it, you're extremely lucky because it makes the process much more affordable and easier. But if your med school is like mine, which is not a part of VSLO, then I have like a list of programs for you on the next slide and you can apply to them. It's like a direct application. The next pathway is like through contacts. So by contacts, I mean anybody who's in this journey or who's willing to like help you. It could be your alumni or someone you just randomly met, or it could also be through cold emailing via Gmail or any social media platform, especially LinkedIn, which I think is a wonderful tool. And the last one is agencies. I personally do not recommend agencies because not only is it very expensive, I think I do not know if it has a quality for it. So if you're going through an agency, make sure you talk to someone who's already gone through it. Now, just to add on, how do you get these emails? Go to like the individual hospital websites. And some of the hospitals, for example, the Mayo Clinic, have their emails listed. Or if you cannot find their emails, one thing that you can do is go to their research works and see if they're like a corresponding author to any publication, and there you will find their email. I say this because I had a very tough time finding emails of a lot of people. And lastly, something which I had a tough time knowing was, how do I know like what programs, like how do I know what are the programs available? You can use these free platforms like Frida and Residency Explorer to find out what are the hospitals available in each state or city. Now, like this is the list for the non-VSLO program list. I'll be sharing the slide on the group, so you can take a look at it later. So technically, you can do an elective at any hospital where you have contacts. So that is more about it actually. And please do confirm these hospitals are still non-VSLO or what are their deadlines, and make sure you have the required documents well in advance, because when they open, literally the entire world is like competing for it. So you have to be well prepared once, I would say. And for observerships, how do you find them? It's like pretty similar. Either you apply through an individual program or you get it through contacts. Some of the programs where you can apply is Cleveland Clinic or Griffin Hospital, or even there's a hospital called Nazareth in Philly where you can apply to, and through contacts again. So one thing which a lot of people ask is, what program should I look for while applying for observerships? I would say the best bet is like having an IMG-friendly program hospital, because your ultimate goal actually is to get interviews. And for interviews, it's nice if you can get a rotation in a hospital which has residency. So why are we applying for rotations? Apart from getting good quality LORs, the most important thing I would say is to make contacts and to get interviews, because that's the big picture. And from the very basics, like what are the prerequisites for rotations? You need to have like an updated passport, AMC immunization form, which is like a standardized immunization form. Like if you Google it, you just have to get it filled by a healthcare provider, and make sure you have your B1, B2 visa in case you're not a green card holder or do not have a US visa. Apply very early because there's a really big waiting line. And when should you apply for your rotations? I would say apply now or apply as early as you can, because the exams and everything, you can take it according to your preference. And because rotations are really hard to get, I would say like even more harder than residency. I think like apply as early as you can, prepare your documents in advance, and make sure to keep the deadlines in mind. And something which a lot of people ask is, how are the costs of rotations? So the cost actually varies a lot. For example, Cleveland Clinic offers free rotations to like, University of Alabama costing up to like 5,000 US dollars. And along with that, you get like added housing, flights, and daily expenditures. So I think rotations are probably the most expensive part of this journey, I would say. And something which a lot of people ask is, how many rotations do I need? I would say like 3 to 6 months is pretty good. And whenever you have an opportunity, try getting a mix of programs with residency so that you have a chance of getting interview and places where you can get good LORs, even if it's like a small clinic. Because the reason I say is I did my rotations in places like Cleveland Clinic, and it can be hard to get LORs, from big institutes. I did get, but it can be hard to get. So I'm saying is like, even if it's a small clinic, if you can get a good quality LOR, I think that is something which is extremely important. And yeah, that's it. And good luck everyone for getting a rotation.
That's amazing. That's a very incredible information, loaded information in a short time. I really appreciate once again sticking to time. And your experience really, helps. I hope it does help all the students who are going to listen to your talk. And guys, by the way, talking about AI in healthcare, we are using AI today, and I can see in the group chat, I am going to be sending a summary of what AI has listened to the speaker's content and creates a summary, so which is amazing. So I already posted a summary of what Dr. Beg presented. I'll be posting with each speaker. So stay tuned. And once again, apologies for all the technical difficulties. This is new. We were not expecting to manage such a big crowd. So, which is great. So, thank you so much, Dr. Hiba Salam, for your presentation. Please see if there are any questions that come up in the chat box. Next, I have a superstar, Dr. Uzair Siddiqui. He's currently a resident in internal medicine and in New York City, which is incredible, and he's got a great future. He is somebody from Gujarat, and this is I think I'm sharing my screen, right? I guess yes, this is him, and he will be talking more about a little bit more about observership that Hiba could have not covered completely. And also, I think the one of the most toughest time being a resident in America is the time you finish your exams and the time you get into residency. What is your life like? I think this topic is very subjective and nobody talks about it. Nobody says much about it. Nobody knows the struggles are individual. So I'm really excited to have Dr. Uzair Siddiqui present to you about what it is a life like until you match. Okay. So with that, let me see, make sure that Uzair is able to talk or unmute himself. If Uzair, can you? Okay, let's see. All right. You can unmute yourself, Uzair, and see whether you can talk now.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum everyone. So my name is Uzair Siddiqui. Time is limited, so I'll try to be concise and inshallah in the question answer session you can ask more questions if you want more details. And of course consider joining the MHNU Assembly group where we have lots of helpful brothers and sisters who are helping juniors out in this process. So first I have two topics kind of. Let me see if I could share my screen. Um, all right. Hopefully everyone can see my screen.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. So, first topic is observerships, but Hiba already did a great job. I'll just touch on points which I can contribute somewhat more on. As far as like definitions are concerned, hands-on is when you get to interact with the patient get to use the EMR system. Usually electives always have hands-on hands-on electives. Externship also has hands-on. Observerships traditionally, technically by definition doesn't have, but the boundaries are way more blurred in real life. You may still get an observership where they allow you to do hands-on. And typically where you're doing the observership, they are not the one enforcing the hands-on criteria or rule. So although traditionally it does not have hands-on, they may still allow you to do hands-on, and your LOR might also be designed in that way. The other thing is sub-internships. This is usually this is usually not available to IMGs, usually for AMGs, and the last thing is telerotations. And of course, electives is something you do prior to graduation, and after graduation, electives are usually no longer available to you, and all you can do is externships, observerships, telerotations. Okay, and yeah, so it's important to understand like the purpose of USCE. So one is like it demonstrates your ability to work in a US clinical setting. For an application point of view, it's gonna you need to present LORs from US physicians during your residency application. So unless you have had a chance to work with them, how are you gonna obtain the LOR, right? So USC is an opportunity to get that LOR. You work with a physician, and then they give you a letter of recommendation saying, okay, the student worked with me and is hardworking, brilliant, superstar, all the good stuff. And also it allows you to network. All right, so this is a question which is many people ask me all the time. So when you're going for observerships, what kind of observership should I go for first? Should I go for this? Should I go for that? So this typically, like, this is the order of value with regards to like different criteria. So typically an elective is like the best kind of USCE you could get. That is because you get hands-on experience, you get access to EMR, you work with residents, you get to make great connections, which could eventually lead you to getting the residency. You also interact with the PD. So electives is one of the best. The other best is sub-internship, but like I said, that's mostly out of reach for IMGs. Next would be externships. This is something you can get after graduation, which also allows you hands-on experience. Then is observerships. And the last is telerotations. This is something you can do from back home. You're sitting in India doing a virtual rotation. I would say it's the least valuable USCE you could get, but it's still better than no USCE. So for someone who is having problems with getting a visa, let's say you're not able to get a visa, rather than applying with no USCE, you can go for maybe a virtual rotation, right, which is a telerotation. Hands-on always better than non-hands-on. Hospital-based rotation is always better than clinic-based rotation. Again, because hospital-based, you get access to so many more attendings, even of different specialties. Once you get access to the hospital, you get a chance to network more. You can reach out to all the residents. You can reach out to different attendings, make good connections, and have a very holistic experience. And of course, if you're going for rotation, one thing which is important to check for is whether they are gonna be giving LORs or not. So it's not something which you can expect by default, because some observership, they very specifically mention that LORs will not be provided. I think Cleveland Clinic observership program has that criteria that they will not give LORs. So you need to make sure that there is no such criteria. If there's nothing mentioned, then most likely they will give you an LOR. And of course, like I said, any USCE, I know like telerotations is like least in the order of hierarchy. But if you have no USCE, then go for it. Instead of applying with no USCE, apply with something. Okay. So some USCE is better than no USCE. Okay. How to get USCE, I think Hiba already covered, and I would agree with her very strongly about the third-party companies thing. So this should be, like I said, it should only be your last resort. If in any way you are not able to get any USCE through any other approaches, then the last approach should be going through third-party companies, but it usually gonna charge a lot of money, $3,000, $4,000, $2,000, and then still put you in clinics, not hospitals, and then they will give you usually generic LORs. So this should only be your last resort. But like I said, if you're not able to get it any other way, then, and if you have the money to spend, then maybe you can go for it. Okay. Okay, that's for USCE. And this is a USMLE and life until match. So I would just like to outline like how do you go? So this is for people who are not yet entered the USMLE world and who are thinking of it. So and they're thinking how is if you take this path, what's it gonna look like? How long it's gonna take? So the steps is like you register with ECFMG. ECFMG is the Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates, which will register you, which has responsibility of registering international medical graduates in the American system, right? Then you give USMLE Step 1, USMLE Step 2, OET, that's an English proficiency test for like occupational English. You do the US clinical rotation, US clinical experience rotations. Usually 3 months is like the default or ideal a time or minimum time which you should be doing rotations for, right? ERAS and then you will have the electronic residency application service residency application. So this is when you apply, choose programs and apply to residencies. You build your application. It's an online interface. You build an application, submit your LORs and submit through that. Then you will have your residency interviews. Then you have, then you'll put a rank order list, which is when you rank the interviews which you got according to the place you want to match at first or last, right? And then finally, after you get your match results, after that, the process is still not over. You need to take a statement of need document from the government. You need to apply for a visa. Visa is usually J1 visa or an H1B visa, and then residency begins. So how much time is everything gonna take, right? So ECFMG registration is like 1 to 2 months. Step 1 can be 6 to 7 months. Again, this is like an overgeneralization. There can be outliers on either side. Someone can do it way quicker. Someone can take much longer, right? For USMLE Step 2, that's going to be 6 to 9 months, maybe even 1 year. OET is a very easy test, I would say. Only 1 to 2 weeks of preparation. US clinical experience takes like 3 months. And then residency application process and interviews. So here's what the timeline looks like. So for example, if you want to start your residency next year, that's 2026. So your application cycle through ERAS, that's the electronic system I was talking about, it starts in June of this year. So you start your application, start preparing your application on an online interface in June of this year. September 4 is when you're going to be submitting your application. And then the program starts reviewing your application. And then after that, you're going to start having interviews, which will run all the way till next year, till January, February. Okay. And this is the match timeline. So then you apply. NRMP is the process where you submit your rank order list, and eventually they are the one which will match you to the program through a Nobel Prize winning algorithm. So February 3rd to March 5 of next year is when you would submit the rank order list. And then March 17 is going to be match week. And then March to June is when you're going to make your visa application. And then July 1st, your residency begins. So to start your residency in July of next year, the residency application process starts in June of this year. So it's almost like a 9-month process, the residency application timeline, right? Now, just last closing points that I want to make is, so how are you going to sponsor this journey? I think Rusab touched on the cost of this journey, which is, I think if you count everything, it goes to like $20,000 to $30,000. So I would say if you can take the help of your family members, that's definitely the first choice you should go for. As an MBBS, if you're just assuming you're an MBBS graduate trying to work as an house officer and making in Indian rupees, spending in US dollars, it's just going to be a time-losing process. I would say prioritize time try to match early, because every year you lose not entering a US residency training is like $50,000 you're using. So and it's gonna be a long process. Like I said, if you look at the timeline, it's almost 1.5 years. So one thing you can do to minimize the time is if you start early. So if you start in people who use time very efficiently, what they would do is start an MBBS. You start the journey early. That's how you save time. So you can give your step 1 in 3rd year, step 2 during internship, and apply during internship. And then these are the ones people who are matching the most in the most efficient manner, and then they complete their internship in March and join residency in June. So, but that's not always possible. Everyone is different. But yeah, starting early definitely will help you save time. And definitely long journey, tough journey. So for your well-being, of course, it's good to have your trust in Allah and make lots of dua, tahajjud. Having emotional support from family and everything also helps much. And lastly, ingredients for successful match. This is just a very broad summarization. So your good USMLE scores should be a top priority. Don't get bogged down in, hey, I want to do research, I want to do this volunteer experience, I want to do this online course. Trying to do all that and compromising on your scores, that's gonna harm you in the long run. If you have good scores, that's pretty much gonna shine bright in your application. And then you need to have US LORs, typically 3 US LORs and 1 from your homeschool specialty chief. And then US clinical experience, typically 3 months. Publications, the more is better. Try to have at least 2 to 3. And then if you have a weakness in your application, or if you're applying to a very strong specialty, very competitive specialty, or if you're applying to a non-competitive specialty but a competitive program, then these are some bonus points that you can do to sort of give your application a boost, which is try to complete step 3 before application, or having like research experience, which is like research assistantship or anything like that. And that's it. I hope I didn't overstep my time. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Uzair. It just speaks of your, I can see you are probably a top-notch resident in your class. The way you presented, gave the information and all the things. I'm sure it's going to be very helpful for all the students who are listening and who are taking the benefits of it. I really appreciate all my speakers who are actually answering the questions. There is a barrage of questions coming your ways, and you guys are being actively involved. So I appreciate that. Having said that, I think the hottest topic when it talk about America is visa, and that is very, very important to. Do you want to just stop sharing, Uzair? Your
Yeah.
hold on a second. Hold on, I will share. I will introduce the next speaker, which is going to be. All right, I'm gonna share the next. All right, you guys can see my screen here. Yep. So we have Dr. Hafsa Majid, who is currently a fellow in endocrinology at Tulane University, New Orleans, all the way down south of America, near Texas. And last time we had organized this webinar, she was a resident in internal medicine. So you can see she has made an amazing progress and going to be an oncologist, hematologist, and she's doing from one of the prestigious universities, New Orleans, Tulane University, one of the top-notch universities in USA. So she's going to be talking about a very, very exciting topic and very, very controversial as well, given how things are moving in the direction and the phobia that is happening in the setting of new presidential rules under Trump. So with that, I'm going to have Dr. Hafsa Majid take over, and let me have her, unmute herself, because that's what needs to be done. And Dr. Hafsa Majid, can you unmute yourself? Are you able to talk?
I think I'm unmuted. Can everyone hear me or see
Yeah.
my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let me start from the beginning. I just pre-recorded myself to keep myself on time. Here we go.
That's amazing. You able to start or you have an issue? Can you share screen or something? Oh,
Can you hear the video
ah,
or no? Can you see my screen or
all
hear
we
anything?
see is you, but we don't hear any
Oh,
video
no,
or
no,
anything.
no. One second. I'm trying to share my screen. Let me make
Alright.
sure it's
Are you able to share the
so.
screen or no?
Can you see the screen?
We can't see the screen, unfortunately. Do you
If
click
it's
on the share screen option and it is not letting you do that?
Yeah, no, it says on my end that it is sharing and it's asking me to stop share if I want to change it. Let me stop the sharing and then I'll change to see if anything
Abdullah, the
changes.
fact is we can see the screen. Can you guys see her screen, like a presentation? If that is the case, that's fine. I just to see her, I don't see
Can
her.
anyone see my, like, one second, I just unshared my screen and I'll do this again.
Sorry about that. Well, listen, guys, it's not easy to handle an audience of 140 people online, you know. So it's a problems of the new age generation.
Okay, I'm trying to share this
So
again.
people are saying that you can be heard, but okay, now we can see something. Started sharing screen. There may be.
Okay, sorry. I think we went a little bit ahead. Okay, this is,
Yep. Now we can see the screen. Go ahead.
you can see the screen? Okay. Can you hear the audio?
Yes.
Oh,
Are you able to proceed? Dr. Majid. Let me see. Is there an issue with audio again? I apologize, guys. Let's see if some Majid. Yeah.
Can you hear the audio with my screens?
Yes, we can. Yes.
You can hear it?
Yep. We can hear you talk and the screen.
Okay, okay. No, no, no. There is a recording that comes with it. One second.
No, just why don't you do this for a favor? You
Uh-huh.
keep talking, we can hear you and share the PowerPoints. That's fine. Video might be
Let
tough.
let me do that now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep, we can see the screen
So
now.
I'm just gonna do like a preview. Okay, sorry. I'm having a lot of trouble because I already did the slideshows with an audio.
All right. I think that's too technically advanced for us, Hafsa, probably. Did we lose you there or how are you doing there? Not sure what's happening.
Okay, so I'll just do this with the video and there will be some background noise. Please, I apologize ahead of time.
Go
So
ahead.
I'll talk a little bit about visas and basically the things I'll discuss is the types of visa, limitations of each visa type, routes to citizenship, and the recent changes with the current president, like especially with the election of Donald Trump. First, I'll say the types of visas. These are different based on the purpose of your travel. So, starting with electives, you need two types of visas for electives, either B1, B2 visa or an F1 visa. Majority of the electives are done under B1, B2 visa. This is the visa which is for business or leisure or tourism. It's considered like electives are considered under like the business category. And prerequisites for this is that you need a sponsor. It could be a family member or like an institute that is giving you the elective or observership. And like Rusab mentioned and Hiba mentioned earlier, that it takes some time to get an appointment for the visa as well. So apply ahead of time. Things have changed more so with like after COVID, it's even more difficult to get an appointment slot for visa. Um, Another type of visa that some very select institutes require is F1 visa. From what I remember, it's only like UT Health that required this. When I was applying, of course, things may have changed. But this type of visa requires a sponsoring institute, and this lasts only for the duration of your course. And the application fees are listed below with each visa type. And then for research, this can usually be done on a J1 visa or B1, B2. But like I said earlier, B1, B2 is limited by the 6 months maximum duration of stay. So most institutes prefer that you have or get a J1 visa. And the prerequisite for this is to be hired by an institute. They'll provide you with the necessary documentation, usually the DS 2019. It's the same kind of visa that medical graduates will get after they match into a residency program. And on this visa, you are allowed to work, which is unlike the B1, B2 visa in which you're not allowed to work. It's only for like you can volunteer as a researcher, but not get paid for it. And the application fees is the standard, like 160 with another service fees. And then for residency and fellowships, most programs, it depends on the residency program, but most residency programs hire IMGs on a J1 visa. A very select group will hire residents or fellows on an H1B visa. Like the big difference between J1 and H1B is that J1 has a requirement for J1 waiver. So residents will have to either get a J1 waiver job after residency or work in an underserved area. And usually the duration of J1 visa is only limited to the duration of your course. And it has to be renewed every year. Every year you travel outside the country, you have to get the J1 visa renewed. And another big limitation for this kind of visa is that you're not allowed to work outside the sponsoring institute. So that means you're not allowed to do any moonlighting, which is common practice in residency programs and fellowships. Another major factor I would say with J1 visa is that it has the 2-year requirement to go back to your home country and practice or get a J1 waiver job. The next thing is H1B visa. That's for temporary workers in specialty occupation. This is the kind of visa that most engineers also get. And it requires a professional degree. And like Hiba mentioned, it requires completion of USMLE Step 3 for anyone who matched into residency. Often residency programs that have H1B visa slots will have a limited number of H1B visa slot and more J1 slots. And they fill up very quickly. So if you don't complete your step 3, often you're not able to get the H1B visa. And the benefit of H1B is that it doesn't have the J1 waiver requirement, and you don't have to work in an underserved area or go back to your home country for like 2 years after graduation from residency or fellowship. And the sponsor for J1 visa for residency and fellowship is ECFMG. And it requires that you have completed the steps, step 3 if for H1 without step 3 for the J1. And then I talked a little more about the H1 visa before. And for both H1 and J1 visa, usually the visa holder can sponsor their significant other spouse and they're allowed to work as well. And there's certain limitation to it, but it is relatively easy to get the spouse to the United States once you have the visa. After residency for J1, anyone who's on a J1, they will have to find a job that fulfills J1 waiver criteria. Usually, this is an area in the United States that's underserved, or like it's in a smaller city, rural location, or bigger city, which is a federally qualified health centers. And eventually, that is transitioned to a green card. Once you get hired in a J1 waiver job, doctors usually get an HB1 visa, H1B visa. Um, that H1B visa lasts for up to six years. It has to be renewed every 3 years, and after during those 6 years, often the employers sponsor a green card, and then the green card eventually leads into citizenship. And another big implication or limitation for Indians is that it takes a while from the H1B to be transitioned to green card. It's different if it's filed under an EB1 category. This is only for doctors with exceptional research accomplishment. That's why it highlights the importance of research. It definitely helps in getting into a good residency program, fellowship program, but also exceptional research accomplishments make it easier for doctors to go from H1B to green card and then citizenship. And it has a minimum pay requirement of 60,000. So it usually doesn't matter much for doctors. And after residency, to get an H-1B visa, another major requirement apart from the steps, ECFMG certification, graduation, all of that is to get a state medical license. And things that have changed with or under Donald Trump more recently is affecting immigration, mainly illegal immigrants, but it also has the next step is to end birthright citizenship, which affects a lot of Indian families or the IMGs. This is the excerpt from day one of President Trump's inaugural speech, which highlights their commitment towards removing illegal immigrants and making it difficult for illegal immigrants, more so criminals, to enter the country. But this is just a starting point. The next step is to end birthright citizenships. And this affects a lot of Indian families because majority of the doctors, even after they complete their residency, fellowship, J1 waivers, will be on an H1B visa, and children of these doctors usually get citizenship, but that would not be the case if this is goes into effect. Again, we don't know where this is going to go, but that is one of the proposed ideas. So those are the major recent changes that would be affecting IMGs more so with Donald Trump's current term.
Very good. That's all? Are you done with your presentation? Yeah, okay. Well, excellent. Thank you so much for that, talk on visas, which always is a kind of a topic that brings out anxiety and discussion. And I want to little bit, I would say, add to what you said and maybe correct it to some extent, because the Trump rules that whatever that have come through and they're talking about applies a lot to the illegal immigrants. All right. So that is the number one force behind they want to. So all of you who are coming to America on USMLE on visas will be legal immigrants. The anxiety that has gone around whenever Trump administration comes in of the policy. So technically, it should not on paper affect legal immigrants as much. Even the birthright citizenship issue as well is a matter of constitution. So to approve would be very difficult. But illegal immigration, which is a big problem, I think those are to be. So don't want you to get super worried that if we had dreams of coming to America to write USMLE, get into residency, what if Trump rules will make me get deported? Very, very unlikely or almost impossible, because illegal immigration, they actually want to promote that in a way. I think there are after effects. There are going to be anxiety about people. There are going to be hearsay. There will be rumors. But, constitutionally, that is very, very difficult to have. And in fact, Trump's uh, current wife is an immigrant. Elon Musk's current girlfriend is an immigrant. So you can see that that's not going to affect. So it's all about illegal immigrants. Having said that, thank you, Dr. Majid, for your talk. Next speaker I'm going to share is going to be a little bit important. What is your life to be like a resident or a fellow in America? And I have a speaker, again, a hematology oncology fellow, which is basically like a DM cardiology, DM and oncology kind of category of training from a very successful and talented doctor, Dr. Hiba Norwell. She's all the way up in north of America, Wisconsin, and she's going to be giving us a talk on with regards to what it is to live a life when you are doing residency. With that, I'm going to unmute her, hopefully, and have her give a talk. Okay. Let's see if Hiba, can you hear us and ready to?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much for organizing this, Dr. Khaji. This is really helpful for all the aspirants, as I was once. I'm actually on call today, so my pager might go off while I'm speaking, so apologies for that in advance. So I'm currently a first-year oncology fellow at the Medical College of Wisconsin, and I have done my residency at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York City, Jacobi Medical Center. So what I'm going to talk about today is life as a resident and fellow in US. So the main factors that I will highlight, I'll divide this into professional life and personal life. And then within professional life, we'll talk about the schedule, the opportunities available in the States as a resident, and then as a fellow, and then how, your work-life balance is. There is another speaker who would speak more about that, but I will just briefly comment about it with, pertinent to residency and fellowship. So I started residency right after medical school, and I could and as a fresh intern, who had just been an intern before I started residency, I could see the difference between the life of residents back in Mumbai, KEM, where I did my medical school, versus here. So over here, there's a lot of emphasis on resident well-being and wellness. Like in my program, we used to have every monthly wellness activity, which would be picnics and trips, which would be sponsored by the program. We would have restrictions on the number of work hours. It's like 70 to 80 hours per week usually, and many times it's less than that on certain outpatient rotations. And then we would always have one day off at least every week, along with 1 month of vacation. So that was a big plus. Other than that, in terms of the professional opportunities that we had, there is a lot of protected time as such. Like you have your clinical responsibilities, but even in that, there is a cap. For example, in internal medicine residency, you do not see more than 10 patients per intern, like on the inpatient ward service, which is good because that gives you time for education and learning. They also give you academic time and protected time off so that you can study. They also give you clinical electives. So basically, electives are rotations where you are the resident and you go to other subspecialties like oncology, cardiology, and there you're not responsible, but it's more for learning. And seeing some patients but not a lot, where you don't get time to study. So all those rotations are relatively lighter, which gives you time to prepare, study for the boards and also prepare for fellowship. Again, life in residency is very dependent upon what you need to do afterwards. For example, when I did internal medicine, there were certain specialties which were competitive. So sorry, my attending is messaging. So in that, we had like cardio, hemonc now has become super competitive, GI. So if you want to apply for these fellowships after residency, you have to really work hard in residency, do a lot of research, build your CV, do electives, and get good letter of recommendations, so that you can build, like, you're building your whole application again the way you did for residency now. So if you want to do those fellowships, then it can get pretty intense. So that's how my life was. I used to work in the day as a resident until 5 or 6 usually. And after that, in the evening, I would usually do some other the research project, research meetings, go for research conferences. But again, it also varies a lot because I was an H-1B visa. Even for J-1, actually, for Indians is the same, because we need to, we need to directly apply for fellowship, because other countries after H-1B, they can get citizenship. Like my colleagues who were from Nepal and Syria could get green card within residency, which was not an option for us. So we really needed to work hard in residency, build our CV, and match. But other than that, other than the fellowship application preparation part, the other good thing about US residency when it comes to personal life is that if it gives you enough time for yourself and your family. Like there are many residents, many colleagues who had kids, and they basically, try to accommodate their requests. If the kids are in daycare, they try to accommodate that also by letting them go early sometimes. So they are very understanding, and they give maternity leaves also. Like it varies with the program. In my program, it was 1 to 2 months, but then again, you had to like adjust it with your electives, because if you took more than that, then it will delay your date of graduation. But overall, it was a pretty good environment compared to back in India, where I would see residents working a lot more hours, not having enough time to read, even sleep, honestly. So definitely that is a big plus over here. But again, it depends on the part of the country. Like where I was in New York City, residency was intense. Some parts it might be less intense, but overall, compared to India, it is still a better work-life balance, more opportunities to grow, to research, to develop your interest. And then when it comes to fellowship, also it is dependent on what fellowship you do. So cardiology, pulm crit are more intense. Hemong is intense, but then you also have, like, at least in university programs like the where I am, they give you protected time for research. So they have different tracks, and depending on what you want to do, like they gave me a clinical investigator track where they have given me 18 months of time to develop my own trial. So, and they will give me less clinical duties accordingly. So those opportunities are available even in fellowship, which is great to do really develop your interests and achieve what you want to do. And again, like for colleagues who are pregnant or have like parental responsibilities, there's enough time and enough accommodation made for them as well. So those are the main things when it comes to life as a resident and a fellow. And again, one big thing I should mention is like the cultural change. Again, it depends on which part of the country you go to. Like I was in New York, there was a good, like, community and immigrant population. So there were like good masjids around. Like I could go for prayers and have like get the foods that I like and groceries. But in certain smaller areas, that might be difficult. So I had friends who were in Arkansas, for example, and they felt very lonely, like, coming from a totally different culture and background. But then people are very nice and accommodative, and you ultimately, make friends, and things tend to work out towards the end most of the time. But that is the gist of it when it comes to life. I hope I'm not missing anything. Sorry, I didn't get much time to prepare because of my schedule this week.
Great. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you had so much work commitment, your kid commitment. Despite that, you did not give any excuse to cancel this. I really appreciate you taking time and showering some knowledge with regards to what it is to live in America during residency and training. One of the toughest times, teaches you a lot of life lessons at the same time, making choices, making good connection. I think it's one of the most critical part of your life in America, because that's when you start deciding about where you want to settle, who do you want to have your neighbors, what kind of environment you want to plan for. And it's an amazing, incredible time to think about all those things. So in that case, thank you so much for your time. Once again, please, if you have time, you can answer questions, but if you had to leave, I would not mind, because you did an amazing job despite all your commitments. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Jazakallah. So next presenters are a duo. They are I would say, the two very exemplified doctors who are going to talk about what is it like to do a research while you're in America and the importance of research. And I have two doctors, both from North and South Poles, pretty much, I would say that, because Dr. Muhammad Arafat Ghaniani is a research associate at Miami Cancer Center. He's applying for his residency, and he has done a great job researching. This is one of the prestigious institutes in USA and to do cancer research all the way down south in Florida. He'll be talking predominantly about the research opportunities, what kind of research and things like that. Next presenter, along with the collaboration, there'll be Dr. Abdullah Azhar. He's a very talented doctor. He has finished his internal medicine residency already in New York City. Currently, he's doing a fellowship in, believe it or not, I don't know how many of you know, he's doing fellowship in cardiac amyloidosis, one of the rare yet serious heart disease, and he's spending his time researching purely on cardiac amyloidosis. That itself tells you how much of research opportunities are in America with regards to diseases and what you can do, what you can learn from that. And he's working with some of the top-notch people in the country who manage patients with cardiac amyloidosis. So with that, I'm going to have Dr. Arafat Ghaniani start and then complement him with Dr. Abdullah Azhar. Okay, so let me have them unmute. Or is Dr. Arafat, right? Here he is. I'm going to unmute him. Can you hear me, Arafat?
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I can hear you.
Good, go ahead.
So I'll share my screen. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I am Mohammad Arafat Ghaniani. I have done my undergrad from Grand Government Medical College, Mumbai, and I have done like a graduate certificate program from Harvard Medical School. I am going to talk about like the why research matters for for IMGs. What are the type of research that you can do in your undergrad from India, and what are the steps to initiate a research project. And I will share some strategies that will help you to build collaboration, and you can you explore these opportunities to work with people in the US, and also some of the research grants that people can get as a medical students from India. So why research matters for an IMG? We all know that the residency is becoming competitive day by day. So one of the things that research adds to your CV is that it strengthens your application. For average, there is like 3 publications for an IM applicant who is applying residency last year. So it actually gives you a very good reputation as a person who you have done like a research, you have done your undergrad, everything together. So it gives you like you would say a comprehensive profile of yours. And I mean, obviously, research will help you to get some of the postdoc opportunities. As Dr. Afshar said, you can do research in US on B1, J1. I am doing on H1. So there are very few programs. Mine is one of them who give H1 for the postdoctoral fellowship. So obviously, if you do research in undergraduate, then you can have like you can have that profile that the person who is going to interview you for a postdoc or who's looking for a postdoc will hire you. You have to show that why you are interested, like you have done what's your profile, how many publications you have. Even they look for the citations you have, like after your each publication, like they see what journal you have published. So it really matters what kind of publications you are having. Then like I would talk about type of, excuse me, I think my battery is dying. Just a minute.
Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. So now I will talk about the type of research papers. I apologize, actually, I got my laptop battery dead. So type of research papers like we can do in undergrad. The one of the easiest of them is narrative review.